but I do think about the things that is influencing her, because I obviously want her to be her free, discover herself and be her unique spirit identity when she comes to adulthood, and I just wonder how far back do we go that is influencing her? Is everything that's happening in her life right now with us actually influencing her personality and what will become of her through to adulthood?
That was the case even before she was conceived, because what happens to our grandparents is passed on both biologically, but also most importantly emotionally through the parents to the child. And already the mother's emotional states during pregnancy program the child's brain and program the child's stress responsiveness, which is not to scare people. I'm just saying how it scientifically is. And so, no, that's not a passive thing. What I mean by that is you've already done a lot of work on yourself. When I became a parent, I had not. So that means your child starts off with an advantage. So the more conscious the parents are, and they're more emotionally attuned with themselves, and therefore with the child the parents are, the less any past stuff has to influence the child in the present. So that depends very much on the situation, stress levels, and consciousness of the parents. But yes, everything in her environment, and particularly you and your spouse and your relationship and the emotional atmosphere in the home, is programming your child right now, and goes a long way towards determining how she will feel about herself, how she'll experience the world, how she will see the world, how she will experience other people, what kind of relationship she'll enter into, how confident she'll be in herself, how connected to herself she'll be. All this is being determined right now.
Yeah, and that's incredible. And what you're saying then is no words even need to be spoken. It's about how she is feeling, essentially, because they haven't even formed an analytical mind yet. It's obviously at this.
Oh, and a lot of the parenting problem is that parents are told to train their kids with the right ideas, but long before kids have ideas, their emotional apparatus is being trained to understand the world in a certain non-verbal way, and that's much more important.
Totally.
So if you take somebody like, I've just been reading and writing in my new book, I'm writing about politicians. So if you take somebody like Donald Trump, he's got all these ideas that people are out to get him, and that there are enemies out there, and the world is a hostile place. Long before he had these ideas, he had those experiences emotionally, because he grew up in a home with a sociopathic father who demeaned and tyrannized his kids and humiliated them. And that experience on the emotional level is what's fueling Trump's defensiveness, his need to be grandiose because he feels so small, he's got to make himself huge, his fear that he has to be aggressive because otherwise he'll be eaten alive, and all these ideas that he's got, and his denial of reality. Like right now, California, Washington State, and Oregon, the American states to my south here, are on fire. In Vancouver, we can't see the sky because of the smoke that's coming up from the States. And Trump is denying that it's climate change. Well, he's denying it because he learned as a child that reality is so painful, he has to deny it. He just cannot admit it. He can't acknowledge it. So what I'm saying is that these ideas that people have in adulthood, the kind of ideas that we accept and hold on to, has to do with our emotional take on the world, which is being shaped right now with your baby before she has any ideas. So the ideas are secondary. The emotional stance is primary.
Yeah. Well, the way I look at it then is that the feelings become familiar to us of that internal state.
Yes.
And once we go outside that familiar state, then it becomes unfamiliar. And if it becomes unfamiliar, then um, it almost becomes an unknown. And if it's an unknown, it feels like a threat. I mean, that's how I kind of see it in my mind. Would that be?
Well, that depends how comfortable you are within yourself. Like if you're connected with yourself and trust your gut feelings, you're not so afraid when you go out there.
Yeah.
Because you know that your gut feelings will be telling you what's dangerous and what isn't. So you don't have to keep looking for danger, because you'll be warned when there's danger. But when we're disconnected, then the world becomes very unsafe, because now we can't protect ourselves. Like if you look at, you're in Australia, right?
Yeah.
So if you look at the Aboriginals in Africa, in Australia, do they feel perfectly comfortable out in the outdoors?
No.
No, do they? I mean, in their
Well,
natural...
in the natural state, absolutely. But
That's what I'm talking about. That's
oh,
what I'm
sorry,
talking
yeah. But I'm thinking they could be sitting on an uncomfortable rock for hours on end, but be very comfortable with it.
That's what I'm talking about.
Right. Yeah.
So when I said comfortable, I mean emotionally, because they're connected to themselves and they're connected to the world in a way that we, in our so-called civilized society, are not.
Yeah.
So we can't even imagine the degree of trust that they have in the world, in their natural state.
Yeah, it's incredible.